まずはファイナルファンタジー14エンドウォーカーのメディアツアーにご参加いただきありがとうございます。そして、インタビューの方にも、ご参加くださり、とても楽しみにしてました。よろしくお願いします。
So first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us for the Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker Media Tour. And also thank you for participating in the interview. I've been looking very forward to talking with you, so I hope you enjoy it.
これがですね、僕にとってとてつもなく長くてハードだった、インタビュースロットの、32スロットあったんですけど、ついにこれがラストです。
So this is actually, I've had a long and hard journey with these interviews. In total, there were 32 interview slots, and this is the final slot.
Wow.
Wow.
なのでぜひ皆さんもリラックスして14のことはもちろん14以外のゲーム全体のことでもいいですしプライベートのことでもいいです。リラックスしていろいろ質問していただければと思います。
So definitely be sure to ask me anything. Of course, it can be about 14, but you can also ask about games in general or just about my private life. Feel free to relax and ask away.
それではよろしくお願いします。
Okay, we can get started.
All right. I guess I'm going to start off with a rather simple question that I was very curious about. Recently, Final Fantasy XIV has gotten a huge surge of attention and gained more fans and players, especially from the West. A lot of people mention how much they love the team, especially after the heart-wrenching moments from FanFest that solidified your dedication and love to this game. How has this love and support affected you and the team working on the game?
まずやっぱり今確かに非常に多くのプレイヤーの方に新たにねファイナルファンタジー14遊んでもらってますけど、何よりやっぱり嬉しいのは運営というか一番最初のローンチから11年 ARR からは8年経ってまずやっぱりプレイヤーコミュニティ既存のベテランプレイヤーたちがそういった新しいプレイヤーたちをすごく歓迎してすごく自分の友達や家族が増えたかのように接してくれてるっていうのがまずとても嬉しいです。そういうコミュニティを作ってこれた、一緒に歩んでこれたっていうことがとても嬉しいです。
Yeah, so it is really a fact that recently there has been a surge in popularity and we've been getting a lot of new players into the game. But when we look back, this is a game that's had a long history. So it's been 11 years since the original 1.0, and it's been 8 years since A Realm Reborn. And the fact that we've got such a community which is so open to letting new players in. The veteran players really show a lot of care and attention whenever new players come into the game. And they really treat those new players like they're a part of the family. So I think that special environment that we nurtured together, we as developers went on this journey together with the players in the community. And the fact that we've nurtured such a fantastic environment, first and foremost, I think that's a really great thing that we have in our game.
そして、僕らがやってきたこの努力っていうのがやっぱり ARR から8年経って普通だったらオールドゲームって言われてもおかしくない。なのにフレッシュな気持ちで続々と新しいプレイヤーが遊び始めてくれるっていうこと自体は僕らの常にやってきた努力っていうのが報われているとも思うので、僕もそうだし開発チームもとてもモチベーションになってるし、とても嬉しく思ってます。
So when we look at the process, we had to put a lot of effort and a lot of time into A Realm Reborn and since then. And when we see that even though it's been 8 years since A Realm Reborn, and we still see new players coming into the game, traditionally you would think that a game that was released 8 years ago is kind of old. But whenever players come in, they find it engaging, refreshing, and they're enjoying it. So when we see that, even today, that really makes us think that as developers, all of our efforts really paid off and all the hard work that we invested really was worth it. And I think, yes, that's something that I'm really glad about. And of course, that also drives into motivation. That motivates us, again, to do more for the game.
All right. So first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to play the media tour. It was honestly very, very impressive. One thing that I found most impressive was Sage, personally. But I have a bit of a question on my mind. With the amount of extensive shield abilities on show, many I talked to who saw the job action trailer were kind of worried that with Sage's flashy showcasing, that scholars might feel left out in this. So what efforts are being made to bring Scholar in line competitively alongside Sage with its range of abilities?
そうですね。まずこの機会ありがとうございます。本当に私有とても楽しかったです。そして私有の中で印象的なものがたくさんありましたけれども、特に賢者が印象に残りました。そしてもちろん賢者は様々なバリアのアビリティであったり、様々なアビリティがありまして、そしてジョブアクショントレーラーで紹介された技も、とてもなんと言いますかね、なんかちょっと派手な、とてもそうですね、豪華なエフェクトのアクションがありましたけれども、もちろん他のヒーラーのことを考慮して、もちろんちょっと心配しているのは、ちょっと学者をプレイしていらっしゃる皆さんが、もしかして学者の方は、これほど、なんていうか、これほど、効果、これほど配慮されてないと感じてしまう方がいらっしゃると思いますので、学者については、もちろん今回、賢者が導入されたことを踏まえて、学者の方にはどういった変更や調整が入るのでしょうか。
まずそれについてはちょっと謝った方がいいかなと思ってるんですけど、そもそもこのメディアツアースタートの前にやったプロデューサーレターライブの中で、いろんなジョブについてこう話していく中で、その学者について話す時間が吉田はすごい短かったと。これがショックだと、悲しいっていうところからこの雰囲気が始まってるのは本当にごめんなさい。僕のせいだと思います。
So first and foremost, I think I really do need to apologize. So I do understand the situation. I know before the media tour, we had the letter from the producer live. And unfortunately, just because of the timings, I didn't have it. I didn't put so much time on Scholar. And I think that set the alarm bells ringing, unfortunately. And I understand completely that some players who play Scholar, that was a bit disheartening for them. It was a bit shocking and sad for them. And looking back now, I really regret that. And first and foremost, I want to say again that I am sorry about that.
これまでやっぱりこういうその拡張のタイミングの、メディアツアーの中での各ジョブについてのお話って、これまでできる限り僕が話すのはアクションの中身ではなくて、できるだけコンセプトにしていこうっていうふうに決めてました。そして今回もそれに従ってお話をしました。
Whenever we are talking about a new expansion and it comes to that stage where I have to talk about the job adjustments, there is an option that I could take. I could talk about the job actions, but the direction that I had up until now was that I prefer to talk about the job concept. And we did the same thing this time again for Endwalker. We did the same direction that I would usually take for showcasing the job adjustments.
でそれはなぜかというと、やっぱりメディアツアーをやってこうメディアの皆さんや、インフルエンサーの皆さんが実際こうハンズオンして、スキルの中身を見てプレイヤーの皆さんに詳しい情報を出すために、集まって時間を作ってもらってるので、僕が全部プロデューサーレターライブで、例えば学者にはこのアクションが追加されて、バリアの範囲はこれぐらいで、バリアのそのバリア量はこれぐらいでこんなに強力なスペルがっていう話をしてしまうと、メディアやインフルエンサーの皆さんの仕事を奪ってしまうと思ってたので、できるだけそれはやらないようにしようって考えてました。
And so there was a reasoning behind this. Like typically I would do this because I knew that there would be the media tour. And when it comes to the media tour, members of the media and the influencers will be having a hands-on, they'll play, and they will see what type of adjustments are made. And they will be providing detailed information in their coverage to the players. So previously I was thinking that, it's not my place to say for example, in the PLL, that I would talk about every new action for Scholar, and I would talk, okay, maybe the range of this spell is this much, and the potency is this much. I wouldn't go into all of those fine details because originally I was thinking, if I do that, I would actually be taking away the work from the influencers and the media when they come to the media tour. So I was I was a little bit careful. I wanted to tread carefully because I of course knew that I didn't want to take away from the media and the influencers.
で、もう一個の理由としてはやっぱ僕がその数字まで含めてこうアクションの中身の説明を詳しくしてしまうとやっぱ僕自分の言葉がすごく力を持ってるのを知ってるのでこの先もやっぱりまだジョブ調整続いているのでそれによってもしプロデューサーレターライブで話した内容から数字やその威力が変更になった場合になんだよこう言ったじゃないかなんでこんなにこう例えば弱くなってるんだとかっていう話がどうしてもこうネガティブに働いてしまうので、できるだけ中身に関して詳しく説明するのをやめるっていうことをここまでやってきました。
And there was another reason behind that as well. If I was going to explain every action in the PLL, it is the case that right now the jobs are still all under adjustment. All of the values, all of the potencies and so on might end up being changed in the final product. But I also understand that the players take my word as, they take it very strongly, whatever I say. So there could be a situation, for example, if I say something in the PLL and the players find that the potency has been made weaker when they actually come to play the game, then they might actually complain about that and it could lead to that kind of a negative situation. So that was also, I had that in the back of my mind as well about why I had taken this approach up until now.
で、結果じゃあもうちょっとなんかこうコンセプトについて話せばよかったんじゃないってなるんですけど、学者は今回バリアヒーラーとして明確に立ち位置がピュアヒーラーバリアヒーラーという分け方をした時にもうバリアヒーラーの基本になるものを全て揃えてある。つまりこれまでの学者のプレイスタイルをそのまま強く不満っていう点があまりないジョブなのでもちろん新しい攻撃魔法も取得しているし新しい範囲攻撃に関してもそうで、当然新しい強力なバリアヒーラーも持ってるし強力な軽減効果のあるアビリティも手に入れてるのでただコンセプトっていう意味では、フェアリーの挙動がちょっと一部不満があるっていう部分は分かっていてそこには少し手は入れたんですけどコンセプトが大きく変わってない。なのでさっきの理屈で言えば話すことがあまりないっていう状態だったので結果話す時間が短くなってしまったっていうのが、まずちょっと皆さんを不安にさせてしまったんだと思います。
So I'm sure some people might be saying, so why didn't I explain more about the concept for Scholar in the stream? But this time, of course, the background was that we decided to categorize healers as pure healers and barrier healers. And of course, if we look at Scholar, it's more of a traditional barrier healer. It's like a basic barrier healer. And the Scholar has everything in the toolkit to do that job. So we have incorporated new things for this job, but it's just more of a natural progression because we found that there wasn't really so much that the players were not satisfied with. So we have incorporated things like a strong new barrier, a new area of effect, abilities, and a new attack. So we have incorporated those into the job, but it's more of a natural progression based on this job so far.
Thank you very much.
なのでぜひ伝えてあげてください。安心してくださいと伝えてください。
So definitely, I would really appreciate it if you can assure your audiences that they don't have anything to worry about.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Another question of mine is on the hands-on event, we got to look at some of the new areas, specifically a favorite of mine being Garlemald, where you can feel the destruction and grief in the area. You can tell just what happened by the melancholy. While obviously it is tied to lore, I am more interested in the design choices and decisions. Could we have a rundown or of how it came to be and what goes behind designing it?
これまで1.0 を含めてファイナルファンタジー14の中にはそのガレマール帝国ってかなり頻度が高く登場してきたと思います。
Well, first and foremost, when we look at the history of FF14, right since the original 1.0, the Garlean Empire has time and time again played a part or has made an appearance in the story.
ただし皆さんが見てきたもしくは出会ってきたのは例えば将軍だったりその軍団長だったりあとは兵士にももちろん合ってるけどみんなマスクしてるしもしかすると彼らは単純なやっぱりモンスターのように思えてるだろうなっていうふうに思います。それはもちろんそう。
And so throughout the game so far, when you've seen the Garleans, you would see them typically as, you might see generals, commanders, or there are even cases when you just see the lower ranking soldiers. But as an enemy, they wear a mask and you don't really see their face. And I think it's only natural that players might just think of them as another monster.
ただ今回帝国に支配された植民地へ行くのではなくて帝国特に首都ガレマルドそのものに行くことになる。つまり今回描いているのは兵士としての帝国ではなくて帝国民、例えばそれがガレアン人であったりガレアン族だったり彼らにも生活があり彼らの普段の生活っていうのが垣間見えるように彼らも実は我々と同じ人間なんだっていうところにすごい注意して街を作ってもらってます。その上で破壊してるんですけどね。
So this time around, typically in Final Fantasy XIV, you'd be going somewhere and that might be actually controlled by the Garlean Empire. They got their freedom taken away from them and they're under Garlean rule. But now you're actually going to the Garlean capital where their government is based. But what we wanted to show was, of course, there's that military perspective, there's that army perspective, but we wanted to show, okay, what about just the normal everyday Garleans that live there? What type of daily life did they live? And, through that process, we wanted to show and give the player a sense of realizing that, okay, they had kind of a similar upbringing to us, or they've got a similar daily life to us. So that was one area in particular that we paid a lot of attention to when it came about designing Garlemald. But of course, it is in this devastated situation, this completely destructed state for reasons connected to the story.
だからそのガレマルドの壊れた都市の中に公園があって、滑り台があったりしてます。きっと、平和だったというかこの破壊に至るまでにはきっと子どもたち ガレアン人の子供たちがきっとここで遊んでたんだろうなみたいな、まあそういう意味だと本当に物悲しいとは思いますけど、もともとの生活っていうのがよく見えるようにかなり注意して作られたエリアになってます。
So now when you see yourself playing Endwalker, when you go to Garlemald, you might find, for example, there's a park. And in that park, you might find a slide. And of course, now everything is destroyed, but that would make you think that back in the peaceful times, there would be children playing here. You know, people would be coming here, and it would be kind of like a daily life that we're kind of familiar with. So that was really one area where we paid a lot of attention when it came to designing Garlemald.
まあちょっとこれはアシエンに似てるかなとも思っていて、これまでパッチ 4.x シリーズまでは皆さんちょっとこうアシエンがよくわからない、こいつらなんか難しいことばっかり言ってるし、マスクいつもつけてるからよくわからないし、そのもうちょっとアシエンはいいよっていう雰囲気だったのが、やっぱりシャドーブリンガーズを経てエメトセルクと、一緒に旅をしてエメトセルクと会話をして、彼が何を考えているのかっていうのを知ることによって、エメトセルク、そのアシエンっていうその名前ではなくて、その古代人としての顔が見えてきたと思うんですけど、ちょっとそういうニュアンスに近いと思います、ガレマルドは。
I think if you see another example that we have in Final Fantasy XIV, there are the Ascians, and I think it's a little bit of a similar case. So up until the 4.x series, you always looked at Ascians and you just thought of them like, okay, they are this evil, or, you know, they are the enemy. It was that very simplistic view. And of course, it was easy to think that way because they had a foreign language, they were wearing a mask. There were all those types of elements. But then when you came into the story with Shadowbringers and you have this journey shared with Emmett Selk, and you, through that discussion with him, you learn that, you know, you learn much more and you come to appreciate what they are. So then you don't really see them as Ascians, but in Shadowbringers, you come to see them as ancients. And so I think the nuance there is similar to what we are doing now.
All right, Mike, I've got a small question here. During the demo, I was playing around with a lot of the menus, as you would, you know, having a look around, and I noticed that there's a new achievement panel, which has completely changed. Can you elaborate on anything about that, or any plans to what it looked like is to track and both incentivize achievement hunting?
実はこのアチーブメントの回収っていうのは、僕がこう実は 2,3 年かけてUI チームだったりアチーブメント担当セクションにずっとお願いし続けてきた、ことになります。
So actually what you see now in terms of the changes of the UI menu, this is the result of the past 2 or 3 years. I actually have been talking with the UI team and also the section who is in charge of achievements. And I had been telling them that I wanted to incorporate this kind of a change.
でやっぱり ARR を作った時には相当厳しいスケジュールの中でかなり急いで作ったものでもあるので、どうしてもこうリスト的なものになってしまってる。ただ本来 MMORPG におけるアチーブメントっていうのは大きなコンテンツの一つでもあるっていうふうに考えてます。
So this really goes right back to the time when we were working on A Realm Reborn. We had a very tight schedule, and as a result of that, this aspect of the game was quite rushed. So the end product that you saw was something that was just more akin to a list. But when I think traditionally about what achievements are in the MMO genre, I actually view the achievements as a type of content in itself.
なのでアチーブメントをもっと身近なもの、アチーブメントリストというかアチーブメントがもっとみんなの生活、14の中での生活で身近なものになることによって目的にもなると目標や目的になると思っていて、それをこう毎日開くことによって、もうちょっとで達成できそうなものあるじゃんとか、もっと身近なものにしたいっていうのがまず一つの理由です。
So really, when we look at what achievements are in the game, I think I want them to be a bit closer to the players in terms of their daily activities and in terms of their daily life in playing the game. And what I mean by that is that it would then link through to their goals of what they want to do and achieve in playing the game.
でもう一個はやっぱりその身近っていうところにつながってきてるんですけど、長い期間プレーをしてきた皆さんの足跡であり日記でもあり手帳でもあると思ってる。つまり開けば旅の思い出が詰まってるものなので、今回デザインをあえてその手帳風日記風にしてるのは、皆さんが光の戦士として冒険してきたその実績がここに記録されてますよっていう意味を込めて、そういうデザインにしてあります。
But also there's another element at play here, and it's that when you are playing this game, you're going on a long journey, and throughout that long journey you are doing various things and you get those various achievements. So I wanted it to be a little bit more representative of that journey, that path that you take. So that was the reason why I decided to go down this direction of showing it more like a notebook or a diary. And so I really wanted players to have a great appreciation and see the history that they've walked throughout this journey, and to see their achievements in the game.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you very much.
Since the announcement for Island Sanctuary, there has been a lot of mystery surrounding this content. Are there any new details you can share about it?
まず、発表した時にちょっとびっくりしたんですけど、ここまでプレイヤーの皆さんがすごく興味を持ち盛り上がってくれるとはちょっと正直思ってなかったっていうのがまず一つです。
So I want to say firstly that when we originally announced Island Sanctuary, we were kind of taken aback by the huge response we got from the players. We weren't expecting such an incredible reaction.
なのであまりコンテンツのイメージに対して誤解が生まれるような中途半端な情報を出さない方がいいだろう。なのでちゃんと例えば実機だったりスクリーンショットで遊び方とかコンセプトをより詳しく紹介できるタイミングが来るまで、待った方がいいだろうなって思ってるのが、それ以降のアナウンスをあんまりしてない理由ですね。
So really, because now we understood that a lot of players are really looking forward to it and they've got like really high expectations, I did not want to just approach it in a haphazard way. For example, if we were just to give some information here and there, I think that might lead to a misunderstanding on the player's side. They might not really understand what we are trying to do in this content. So I thought it might be a safer option if we wait until we're at a stage where we can show screenshots or maybe even live gameplay in a stream.
で、最初に言っておきたいのが、14の中に動物の森ができるとは思ってほしくない。なぜなら動物の森は長年かけて積み上げてきて、あれだけのことができて一つのゲームなので、あれと全く同じものが14に来るんじゃないかと思われると僕たちは辛い。それだけちょっと最初に言っておきます。
But I just want to give like a bit of a disclaimer for our players. I think a lot of people are thinking that maybe Island Sanctuary will be something very akin to Animal Crossing. But Animal Crossing is really the product of many, many years of, installments, very many iterations, much development. So first and foremost, I'd just like to say that please don't expect something on that level because it will be a little bit tough for us in the team.
じゃあざっくりだけどもう少しインフォメーションは出しておきます。無人島探索に関しては、非常に大きなコンテンツでパッチ 6.X シリーズからスタートします。で、パッチ 6.X シリーズを通じてアップデートも常に行われていく、かなり大型のコンテンツになってます。
But I would like to provide you some general details, just some general information. So this is going to be Island Sanctuary is new content that we're putting in the game. and we will be putting it in the 6.x series, and we will make sure to update the content regularly as well. So it will be quite a large-scale new form of content.
でプレイヤー一人一人に、まさに無人島が一つ与えられるので、この無人島に、例えばどんな建物を建てるのかとか、その材料をどうやって集めてこようとか、ミニオンを放し飼いにしたりとか、そういう誰かと競わなきゃいけないとか、アラガントームストーンが手に入るから毎週やらなきゃいけないとか、そういったものから逃れた、自分だけの島を作りましょうっていうのが大きなコンセプトになってます。
And so really the concept is that you obviously have your own island. So you have at the start kind of like a blank canvas. And so you can see, okay, what type of building do I want to place here? What type of materials do I want to gather? And, you can see, okay, maybe I want to let my minions roam free in this island. So that was really the concept we were going for. This is not going to be the type of content where people compete with each other, and you won't feel pressurized. Like, for example, if someone is trying to get Allegan tomestones, they feel like, oh, I have to do that content every week. So it's really free from those pressures and laid back, relaxed, where basically you have your own sanctuary, your island.
だからものすごい強力な武器が手に入るわけでもないし、レイドが大好きって人にとっては全然プレイしないものになるかもしれない。
So this isn't not the type of content where you would expect to find that, the goal is to get like a super strong weapon, or, for the people who like raiding, then maybe this is not so much their cup of tea. Maybe they will not play it.
でもそれでいいと思っていて、その14の中でさらにリラックスできる場所があって、友達を呼んで一緒にチャットをするのでもいいし、相手の島に遊びに行ってチャットをするんでもいい、そんな風に、好きなその作物を育てたり、動物を育てたり、そんな感じのイメージでいてください。
So really, I'd like people to think of it that in 14, this is an area where you can relax. So basically, you can also call over your friends to your island, have a chat with them. You can go visit your friend's island. But basically, it's laid back, relaxed content. So it's typically the things like maybe tending to crops, or like looking after animals, raising animals. That was more the concept that we were going with here.
なのでハウジングは家と庭と家具にもうすごいフォーカスしてるコンテンツだと思うんですけど、無人島探査がもう一個一段上、もうちょっと広い視点で遊ぶみたいなイメージですね。
So of course that there is content which is there's a focus on the house, the garden, and the furniture. But this, I would say, Island Sanctuary, you could see like a bit of a rank higher, because there's a bit more broad things in there in the mix.
今回お話しできるのはこれぐらいかな。
But I think that's probably about all I can share for today.
That's more than I thought. Thank you so much.
So I'll make it a good one. Hopefully not annoy Yoshida-san too much by this one. Many players, including myself, will be fairly happy to see the new job artifact gear at level 90, with Hrothgar and Vieira being able to use the headpieces on the majority of it. Are there any plans to extend the amount of hairstyles available to both Hrothgar and Vieira? And is there any chance that we could not have to spend money to get a Fantasia to change Hrothgar hairstyles?
まずロスガルのその主要の特徴から言うと、ヘアスタイルと顔っていうのが1対1で作られてる。その代わりユニークなのが、 ロスがあるなので、ちょっとそれ自体の根本の仕様を大きく変えるっていうのはちょっと難しいので、まあちょっと一旦それはそういうものだと思ってください。
So first, I'd like to explain a little bit about Hrothgar. So when we look at the fundamental specifications that we have in place for Hrothgar, the hairstyle and the face are designed one-to-one based on that nature of that design. So the fundamental specification, if we were to change that, it would be quite difficult. So first, as the premise, I would like people to understand that, unfortunately, this is the situation that we have.
ただし、現在実はシステムの変更をすごく一生懸命やっていて、まあ種類はめちゃくちゃ増えるとは言わないですけど、一つのフェイスパターンに一つの髪型ではなくて、一つのフェイスパターンに複数の髪型を持てるように今、作業をしてます。
But of course, that's not to say that we are ignoring this. We are looking at what we can do in the system, and we are actually examining doing changes to the system. So we are doing our best to do something about this. And one thing that we are looking at is that, for example, so far you might have had one face and only one hairstyle, but we are trying to incorporate the change so that you have like maybe one type of face, but you can have several hairstyles for that one face.
そしてビエラに対しての新しい髪型の追加等に関しても今回結構仕様を、調整して 6.0 のタイミングから髪型が増えます。でロスガルはちょっと時間がかかるので、パッチ 6.1 からになる予定です。いずれにせよ2つの、レースに関しても、かなりキャラクターチームが頑張ってくれて髪型や装備を増やす準備を今してますので、もう少しお待ちください。 6.0 と 6.1 からそれが始まることになります。
So also for Vieira, we've been looking at what we can do, for example, the possibilities of new hair. So we have also changed our specifications for Vieira. So you will be finding as well that there will be more hair styles for that. Unfortunately for Hrothgar, it will take a little bit longer. So Hrothgar, we are aiming for 6.1 onwards. But once again, I would like the community to feel rest assured that our character development team is putting a lot of hard effort. They're putting a lot of time and attention into incorporating these improvements. So eventually we will have more hairstyles and more headgear for the Vieira and Hrothgar.
My question, I wanted to keep it for the end because it's a little bit I guess harder to ask. You guys have previously mentioned that you're working to remove gender-locked outfits. While it's understandable that this process takes time and probably also on the back burner, I was curious about outfits that have very different designs per gender. For example, the Neo-Ishgardian gear is drastically different from female and male character models, and some would like the ability to choose between the versions of the armor, regardless of gender of their character, to allow them to express their character more. Are there any plans to ever put in an option for that, and would you mind sharing a bit of the thought process behind designing armors like that?
ものすごい長くなるけどいいかな。
I think the answer will be quite long, but is that okay?
まずいろんな、まあ、過去に出した装備でもその性別対応をなくす努力をこうしていってるのは多分分かってもらえてるんじゃないかなと思うけど、どうですか？少しずつですけど増やしてはいってるつもりです。
So just I want to look at what we've done so far in the game. Like when we take a look back at the previous gear that we have been making efforts to remove that kind of gender lock. But I just wanted to check, do you feel that? What kind of how much do you think is the case? How accurate is it that you can see the results of our efforts, as it were?
Personally, it's I feel like a lot of people are very positive when it comes to responses, especially when they were able to wear the different outfits for the wedding, especially. I know a lot of people were very happy about that. It's not more like that we didn't notice it. It was more the question of because there's so intricate different designs between female and male, that some like one version better than the other and can't use that version.
いやごめんごめん、それは理解してるんですよ。できるだけもちろんそうしてあげたいっていう思いはあります。ただ僕らはやっぱり1パッチの間に作れるギアの数っていうのが決まっているので、しかも皆さんクオリティが高いギアを求めるので、やっぱりこう同じデザインに見えるかもしれないけど、これだけ種族があるものに対して体型ごとにこう当然綺麗に装備できるように作らなきゃいけないので、できる限りそうはしていきたい。もちろんいろんな価値観もあるし、なんだけどなんて言うんだろう、今まで例えば1パッチの間に5つのユニークなそのデザインを入れて実装できてたものが2個になってしまったりする可能性がある。なので僕らはどうしてもこう慎重にその割合とか数をコントロールしていかざるを得ないので、できるだけ努力はする、努力もしてるつもりだけど 100% なんだろう、こう満たせるかっていうふうに聞かれてしまうとちょっと辛いです。ベストは尽くします。
Yeah, I do understand. I understand that viewpoint very much, and I do know where the players are coming from. When we see it from our perspective in the development team, we need to see for one patch, we have a given number of gear that we need to design and that we need to provide for that patch. And of course, the players are expecting a certain quality level, a certain standard. So they want to have really high really flashy gear, basically. But the tricky thing is that, of course, we also have to factor in that gear has to be equipable by so many different races in the game. So that's another thing that we need to take into account. So I do understand, and I very much appreciate that our players around the world have different values, and we do very much treasure, and we really do respect those values. But it's quite a tricky position for us, because if we say, for example, we will give a certain number of special gear designs in one patch, we need to control that. That number might go down to 2 for a given patch. So it puts us in a tricky situation. But once again, I do want to say that I do very much understand the values and all of the feedback from the players, and it is tough, but I really want to try my best. I really do want to do my best to do more for this matter. Yeah.
だからデザインチームもすごくそういうそのリクエストも当然分かった上で、限られたリソースの中でこう一生懸命どっちにもできるだけ対応して、どっちのいろんな人に喜んでもらえるようにデザインワークをしているので、やっぱりそこもベストを尽くすとしかちょっと言えないな。
But of course, we have the members in our design team, and they are aware of what kind of requests there are. They're always looking at that, and they have to see. Obviously, we have a limited resources, so they need to see how can they work with those limited resources and prepare that gear, which could be kind of like not gender locked, as it were. So it is quite a task for them to manage everything and to produce something which can be enjoyed by many players. So of course, once again, we really do understand the demands and we understand the desire for this. But unfortunately, I think the only thing I can say is that we would do our best. But once again, we really do want to try and do our best for the community.
いや、タフクエスチョンなんですよ。
Yeah, it was a tough question.
It's understandable. I mean, it's personally, I know and understand the design and like how much work goes into it. There's just always a lot of questions coming from people who play the game, and especially also with the Vieira and Hrothgar situation, I can't imagine it being very easy for the design team as well.
いえ、まあでも本当皆さんにも努力を続けるって言ってたよってぜひ伝えてあげてください。
Oh, that's no problem. So I would really appreciate it if you could get back to your communities and just tell everyone that we are putting in the effort and we really do want to do our best.
Chris, thank you so much.
ありがとうございます。じゃあラストいいよ。
During the demo, we got to play the wonderful Tower of Zot 4-player dungeon. This was incredibly fun to do with Truss, in my opinion, this time around, especially with Alice and Anu, Red Mage abilities, and Alphino as Sage. Are there any plans then to extend Truss to even bigger places in the future, such as Alliance raids?
アライアンスレイドはすごいですね。23人の NPC がいるってことですよね。
Wow, an alliance raid would be amazing. So you would be there with 23 NPCs?
Well, we have so many Scions. And Adventurer Squadrons, don't forget.
なんだろう、まあアライアンスレイドは行き過ぎというか人数多すぎにしても、今回 6.0 の開発期間の中でトラストシステムの、内部的な拡張というのを非常に丁寧にやってきました。
So it might be a bit too far to say that it's at a level where we can do an alliance raid with the trust system. But while we were working on 6.0, we did work on refining the trust system. So we have expanded it internally.
でこれまではやっぱり 5.0 で開発した今の、これまでのトラストシステムっていうのは非常に実装スクリプトを組むガンビットを組む AI を組むっていうところが非常に難易度が高くて、本当にスキルの高いゲームデザイナーじゃないと扱えないっていう状態でした。
And so the background that we have here is that when we introduced the trust system, it was introduced in 5.0, but back at that time, the trust system itself was very difficult to develop for. So various elements need to be done to prepare the NPCs in the trust. So for example, there's the scripting, the combat AI, and all of those elements need to be prepared. But the system was such that it could only really be handled by a handful of veteran developers in our team. So you needed to be really experienced to handle the system back at that time.
で今回それらを良い意味で汎用化し、さらにパワーアップさせることで多くのゲームデザイナー、開発チーム内の多くのゲームデザイナーがトラストシステムを使えるようになりました。
And so what we set out to do was we wanted to make it more of a generic system in a good sense of the word. So what that means is we wanted it to be more accessible to other developers in our team so that more people would be able to use the system.
で今回 6.0 ではいろいろ新しいコンテンツを作らなければいけなかったので、その 6.0 の中に登場してくるインスタンスダンジョン以外の例えば過去のコンテンツとかにはトラストシステム対応できてないですけど、もう一個スポイラーになるのでメディアツアーには入ってない新しいそのトラストの可能性みたいなのが 6.0 で見れるシーンがあります。今後いろんなことにまたこう発展していけるんじゃないかなと思ってるので、ぜひその 6.0 でのトラストシステムの進化を見てちょっと今後に期待してもらえると嬉しいです。
So obviously in the run-up to Endwalker, we've been so busy working on the content for Endwalker itself. So of course, those instance dungeons that you'll see in 6.0 support the trust system. But of course, we are aware that there's the possibilities of expanding the usage. For example, we could look back at the previous dungeons, which are not yet supported with the trust system. And so we know that there is that possibility, but first and foremost, we have expanded the possibilities of what we can do with the trust system. And I won't give you any details right now in the media tour because it will be a spoiler. But when you play through the game and you use the trust system, there will be one scene where you can really appreciate the advancement, the evolution that we've been able to generate in the trust system. And I think when you see that, you can really appreciate and really look forward to maybe what type of development, so what type of future we can have for the trust system.
Oh, that's very exciting to hear. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。いや、とても楽しかったです。ありがとうございます。まあちょっと今回はね、世界中のパンデミックがあって、僕ももう2年ぐらい海外に行けてないんですけど、もう少しでまた日常がちゃんと戻ってくると思うので、次の機会ではフェイストゥフェイスで皆さんとまたお話できるのを楽しみにしてます。
No, really, thank you so much for today. I honestly had a lot of fun. If, you know, unfortunately, due to the circumstances, we have the pandemic. Unfortunately, you know, if it wasn't for that, I really wanted to travel over and meet you face to face. But I'm pretty sure that the situation will settle, things will improve. And I really do hope that next time we can meet face to face and enjoy the discussion directly.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I think I speak for both me and Shenpai when we say that thank you very much for the opportunity, and we hope that you're getting enough rest, Yoshida-san.
Thanks. まあでもまだ続くよ。もうちょっと頑張るよ。
Oh, but no, I've got to keep on at it. I'm just going to try that little bit harder.
ありがとうございました。
Get
Thank you
that
very
rest
much.
when you can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.